Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the Map the System Oxford semifinal. I'm Dr. Peter Drobac, Director of the Skoll Center for Social Entrepreneurship, and we're thrilled to be here with you today, whether you're with us live or whether you're watching this after the fact. Thank you for joining. We acknowledge that as we speak, we have students and other friends joining from around the world. Some are up in the middle of the night. Some are having their first cup of tea a little bit too early, and we appreciate all the efforts you're making to be a part of this event. The Skoll Center for Social Entrepreneurship is based here in Oxford at Saïd Business School, and we're a little academic center that exists to make social entrepreneurship a force for good in the world through education, through research, through training, and through bringing people together, including supporting the Skoll World Forum run by our friends at the Skoll Foundation, which just wrapped up yesterday. And I consider today's event just the after party to the virtual Skoll World Forum that was held over the course of this week and brought thousands of people together from all around the world. Now, we really see social entrepreneurs not just as founders of social ventures, but really those who use the tools of entrepreneurship to disrupt systems and to make the world better. And at their heart, social entrepreneurs are system entrepreneurs, right? That we want to respond not just to the symptoms, but to the underlying causes of the disease. We say, treat the system, not the symptoms. And that's really what Map the System is all about. It's about using systems thinking and collaborative approaches to deeply explore the complexities of the systems that some of the most pressing problems are embedded with, and trying to understand all of those different dynamics and use those systems perspectives as a way to unlock opportunities for innovation, to be able to see opportunities that others don't. And so many social change competitions around the world are really focused on solutions. And we're encouraged as kind of how we're all educated and trained and wired to jump to solutions. And if you try to solve a complex problem with one killer solution, you usually end up with an app or some kind of technological solution that ultimately isn't going to be fit for purpose and isn't going to be able to address the problem. Map the System is really about developing a learning mindset and a systems mindset that can help you to engage as part of a community in a complex problems and try to drive shifts in the system. And we think that this is an incredible toolkit that will help students go out and become change makers in the world and dedicate themselves to the problems and issues that they're passionate about. And there is no time more relevant and more urgent than the time we're living in right now, where we're not only confronted, of course, with the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're really entering an age of pandemics and pandemic threats. So there are global health threats like COVID-19. We've also, over the last year, seen a long overdue reckoning with racial injustice. We're seeing a widening of long-standing inequality exacerbated by the pandemic. We're seeing threats to democratic institutions and our ability to actually work together to solve big, hard problems. And of course, in the backdrop, the existential threat of the climate crisis. All of these are problems that are bigger than any one person, than any one organization, than one nation can tackle on their own. And we think that that systems mindset is so important. I was just coming from a meeting of a commission that's looking at global health diplomacy and cooperation and how we can learn lessons of what went wrong over the past year and a half with COVID-19 to be ready for the next pandemic. And the conversation we had was, maybe we need to go beyond tinkering around the edges and saying, well, this little policy tweak or that shift over there or this new financing mechanism is what we should do in the future. And instead say, let's take a step back and let's look at whether our institutions for multilateral governance and whether our systems are actually fit for purpose in the 21st century. And if they're not, what would it look like? Not just to tinker with the incumbent system, but to shift to something that's new and bolder and actually fit for purpose in an interconnected world that we live in. That's the kind of mindset that we're hoping to unlock here with Map the System. So as many of you know who are part of it, this is a learning program, but also a competition. And so students from around the world at over 60 universities are participating this year. Students at all tertiary levels, undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate, come together with colleagues and with others to tackle a social or environmental problem they care about and use a systems thinking approach to hopefully unlock opportunities for innovation. And at today's event, we're going to be hearing from some of the teams from the University of Oxford that are going to be competing to go on to the global final, which will be held in June, again virtually given the pandemic, but curated from here in Oxford. And that'll be part of a week of really exciting activities that we're doing as part of something called Systems Week. So stay tuned for that. I just want to acknowledge the hard work of all the teams participating in Map the System this year under incredibly difficult circumstances, right? People are scattered all over the world, even students at the University of Oxford, right, at Said Business School. Many of them are not in Oxford at the moment because of pandemic-related considerations. So a team of 5 people may be spread across 5 different time zones. And on top of that, the challenges of being able to actually access, folks who can help you understand the problem, those with lived experience of the problem, those working on the front lines, as well as experts and others. So it's really an extraordinary commitment that all of you who have participated have made to come this far, and we're really grateful to you and excited to hear more about it. And I do want to acknowledge that there are a number of students and a number of teams that, that this year wanted to participate or tried to participate, but given all of the challenges, on top of staying safe, on top of taking care of your families, and on top of keeping up with your regular studies, have just made it really difficult to do that. We're here for you, and we'll be here next year as well. This program isn't going anywhere, and so let us know how we can support you. I do want to acknowledge some of our key friends and partners who have made this program and this event possible. The Skoll Foundation, of course, our friends in California who are one of the core founding partners of the Skoll Center. The Trico and McConnell Foundations in Canada, a Mercy Foundation here in UK, and then our key Canadian academic partner at Mount Royal University, the Institute for Community Prosperity. So thank you all for your support. Thanks for being a part of this. And now I think it's time to get into it. So there's 2 parts to today's event. And the second part is going to be the actual pitch competition, if you will. So 6 Oxford-based teams that were selected as finalists will be sharing their work in presenting their systems maps, if you will, to a panel of judges for the opportunity to go on and then compete in the global final. So it's an exciting pitch competition, but unlike one that you've probably ever seen before, because we focus more on the problem than on the solution. But before getting to that, we are so fortunate today that we have some time with our keynote speaker, and one of the most, I would say, iconic and influential social entrepreneurs in the world, Professor Muhammad Yunus. And we're so grateful to him for being here today. He's one who needs little introduction, but I'm going to give a short one here. Professor Yunus is an economist by training, and he established the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh in 1983, fueled by the belief that credit is a fundamental human right. His objective was to help poor people escape from poverty by providing loans on terms that were suitable to them and by teaching them a few sound financial principles so they could help themselves. And we'll talk plenty about that. Starting from his own personal loan of small amounts of money to destitute basket weavers in Bangladesh in the mid 70s, ultimately Grameen Bank advanced to the forefront of a burgeoning world movement in microfinance and microcredit as a means of eradicating poverty. And Grameen's model has been replicated, literally hundreds of times in over 100 countries worldwide. Professor Yunus was born in 1940 in the seaport city of Chittagong, studied at Dhaka University in Bangladesh, and then received a Fulbright scholarship to continue studying economics at Vanderbilt in the US, where he also received a PhD in economics. We could go through the whole bio, but it's a pretty long one. He, amongst his many achievements, received, along with Grameen Bank, a Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. And his work in more recent years is tremendously important. He's really become an ecosystem builder to try to advance the cause of social business as a force for good in the world. Done that as an educator, as an investor, and as an ecosystem builder. And we'll talk about some of that work today. Professor Yunus, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So Professor, to start off with, I want to go kind of all the way back. You know, we have a lot of young change makers and burgeoning social entrepreneurs here that may have a kernel of an idea or just a stubborn passion for a problem they've seen they can't turn away from. If we go back to kind of where all this started for you in working in microfinance. You know, there's a story that you told famously when you accepted your Nobel Prize in 2006 about a bonsai tree or about bonsai people. And I wonder if you could just share that story to start us off.
Yeah, thank you for raising that question, because that is the root of everything that I've been doing. How you look at the poor people. Who are they? Usually when you talk about poverty, usually you look at the poor people, they need to be helped, they need to be trained, they need to get education. You have to do something on them so that they can become non-poor in the process. And my point was that poverty is not created by the poor people. That's my long conclusion that I come to. Poverty is created by the system that we built around us. So it's not in the person, it's in the system. Poverty is imposed from outside on a person. So it's not something created from inside of the person. So if you are taking any initiative to overcome poverty, you should be looking at the system, the cause, the root of the whole problem. And I try to explain it by saying that it's over time that I look at the poor people and I see a similarity or analogy with the bonsai tree. I say, what you do with the bonsai tree, you pick up the seed of the tallest tree, beautiful tree in the forest, pick the seed of the tree and put it in a flower pot and give all your love and all your attention to that flower pot, and the seed will sprout, it will grow, and the tree will come out. But at one point, it will stop growing any further, maybe 1 meter or less, and that's about the size you get. It's a beautiful replica of the tree that you saw in the forest, but it doesn't grow further than that. It stops there. And you get annoyed. Why does it get stopped? You wonder what is wrong with that. So you think something wrong with the seed. I said, no, we picked up the best seed possible. And that's what we got. I said, the fault is not on the seed. It's on the flower pot that we give it there. We didn't give enough space for the seed to let the tree grow. So I said, poor people are like bonsai tree. They are bonsai people. There's nothing wrong with their seed. Simply, society never gave them the space to grow as tall as everybody else. So the whole problem is in what we have done in our thinking process, in our policy process, in our structure process. That's why I squeezed everything out of them and made them the bonsai people. So in order to let them go, we had to take them out of the flower pot and put on the real soil so that they can grow as tall as they're destined to grow. This is the destination that they have. This is what the potential they have. So this is what we have been working on. It's not about the person, but the poor person. And it's not to train a poor person how to deal with the bank so that they can become credit worthy. And that's another word I got into real trouble from the beginning with the banking system, since I'm lending money to the poor people. They keep saying, no, you cannot lend money to the poor people. You know why? Because they are not creditworthy. And it annoyed me. Why do they keep saying that they are not creditworthy? They never tried to do anything. And now they come up with the solution, that explanation that they're not creditworthy. So I turned around that thing. I said, why should you judge people and tell them they are not creditworthy? Shouldn't people judge you that you are not people worthy? So why don't you make yourself people worthy before you can tell everybody else to do something else? So this is how the whole system has emerged. And when we're trying to lend money to poor people, they say, oh, what can they do with the money? They will just eat up the money because they're hungry, their stomach is empty, and you'll be done. I said, that's what you think. The poor person, when he or she gets the money, her thinking or his thinking will be different. Not the way you eat it up and finish it up and that's it, you'll never get the money out of his stomach. That's not how it will be. So they are wise enough to take care of themselves. So how to make them happen. So I said, well, you don't have to tell them how to do that. You create a system which encourages them to come. So what we did, we created a system, what we now become called Grameen Bank system or microcredit system, methodology of doing that. And this is what worked. It works with them because they understand this process. They're very integrated with their life and so on. So the people tell me, what is this system that you talk about, that you created something which is different from the conventional banking system? I said, it's very simple. When I needed to work with the people, I needed some rules and procedures. I had nothing. I never studied banking as an academic subject in my life. I don't have any exposure in banking, so I don't know anything about banking. But here I'm doing something about banking. So I don't know, so I go and check with the conventional bank how they do it. Once I find out in each item, when I find out how they do it, I just come back and do the opposite. And over time, we got the Grameen Bank. So every step of the way, we do the opposite. And that's what the point that we were making in the beginning of this discussion, saying that they go to the rich, I go to the poor. It's the opposite. So I make sure that I work with the poor people. They make sure they want to go to rich people. So they design everything for the rich people. They go to the city center to start their first branch. We go to the remotest village to start our first branch. We said, if you miss that village or the remote place, we'll never get back to it because they will be forgotten. So first get the toughest position, toughest location. So we go to the toughest location and start from there. And they always wanted to do the banking in the cities, urban areas. We said no urban areas. We stay in the rural areas. That's why we called ourselves Grameen Bank or Village Bank. Even today, after some 45 years later, we still don't have any branch of Grameen Bank in any city of Bangladesh. It's all rural. Everything is rural because it's a rural bank. We do the rural thing. So we avoided the rural thing. And they want collateral. We said no collateral. Forget it. If you want collateral, then you go back to the rich because they are the one who can offer you things. The moment you bring collateral, you bring lawyers. So we are a bank, no collateral, and we have no lawyers. We are the only bank in the whole world which is a lawyer-free. And we give billions of dollars every year. And we are never worried about whether our money coming back, whether this is safe to invest, whether this is, we'll get into problem. She will deny that I ever gave her the money. It never happened on all these 45 years. But you assumed it and you created something. I blamed them. I said, look, you took the word credit, which means trust, and you build the whole institution around that word on the basis of distrust. The moment you enter the premises of a bank, the bank suspects that you'll be fishy, you're doing something fishy, that the bank will never get the money back. So they are always surrounded by their lawyers to catch you, to tell you. They say, we don't have to worry about it. We took the word trust and built the whole organization based on trust. And wherever this idea of microcredit is spread around the world is based on trust. And we run it everywhere in the world, including the United States. We have a called Grameen America, and we have 140,000 women taking money from Grameen America, and with 99.5% and above repayment rate, and take $500 million a year now at this. And we had no problem with them. They start their own thing. This is how the entire idea was built on. It is about focusing on the poor person as a human being, not as something of a target that you want to do something and he or she fails. He or she fails because you don't understand it in the first place. So you created something to make her fail, make him fail. So this is what happens. This is the explanation that I wanted to give on the bonsai people.
Thank you, Professor. There's so many key insights there. I think the metaphor of the seed with, full potential, that potential just needing to be unlocked, and in poor people as not passive recipients of our charity and our generosity, but active participants in their own lives, and moving from charity to solidarity. I think your contrarian instincts, a classic entrepreneurial approach, contrarian instincts to go where the work was most difficult, where the needs were greatest, and to say, look, not only do we have a moral duty there, but if we can do it here, we can do it anywhere, right? Are so important. Now, this has created such a movement, obviously, and it's gone so mainstream that you almost take it for granted, right? These kind of basic principles of microfinance and microcredit seem obvious now, and that's always the case. It's a measure of your success in some ways in changing the system and changing mindsets. But as you touched on, this was not the kind of prevailing wisdom at the time. Nobody was lending to poor people because they weren't, quote unquote, credit worthy. So what inspired you to start, or what gave you the idea that this would work, or how did you actually come upon the solution of microlending?
Well, it was actually the frustrations, enormous amount of frustration that we were going through at that time in the mid-70s in Bangladesh. Country was going through a famine, and here I am, a young teacher teaching economics in the university, and I feel very frustrated because I teach elegant theories of economics which has no meaning to the people dying around me. I said, this is worthless to me. I'm talking about it has no meaning in the life of the people. So I felt completely empty that the things that I teach has no meaning in the life of the people. So I was trying to see if I can overcome that frustration. This is my first thing, that I feel that I'm not useful to anybody. I spend so much time learning something which is totally useless. And how do I regain my usefulness so that I can be somebody that can touch another person's life or have something contribute? So I was wondering what I can do, and I have no idea how to do that. So one idea I came up with, why don't I go to the village next door? Because this university is surrounded by villages. It's a rural-based university. So I could just walk out of the campus line and be in the rural area that I was looking for. So I thought this is where all the problems are, so I should be there. So every day I will spend my day talking to them, trying to see. My ambition was to make sure that I can make myself useful to at least one person, preferably each day. If I can do some little thing, I would feel happy that I still have some usefulness left in me. Economics couldn't take it away from me. So this was what I was doing, trying to understand them. I did lots of little things. That's a long story. But after a year and so, I started seeing that something terrible is happening all the time, and I noticed them. It's a loan sharking. A person lending tiny money to another person and grab everything because he or she couldn't pay back. And become a victim. And the whole design is done in such a way that you'll never be able to pay back. So that's a basic feature of the whole loan sharking. You give the money and design it such a way you will ever remain dependent on this payment circle. It never ends, because whatever you pay back, more than that, your loan gets bigger by the compounding and all kinds of things. So I said, my God, this is terrible. And I was trying to see if I've learned anything from economics, how to address that. And I found out that there's nothing I learned how to address the loan sharking thing. So I said, again, economics fails me. I couldn't solve this problem. So I was wondering what I can do. One idea came, why don't I just go ahead and lend money myself? If I lend the money, the person will take the money and he or she doesn't have to go to a loan shark anymore. The problem for that person is solved. So I have solved one person's problem. That's what my ambition was, to solve at least in the case of one person. So I started doing that. I told them that, look, if you need money, you don't have to go to loan shark. You come to me, I'll give you the money. And I explained how I give the money, how do you pay back. I said exactly the same amount, nothing extra for that. So you can get it out as soon as you possible. And people love that idea. And that was the beginning of it. And I had no idea that it will become a bank or do expand and nothing. Just the people are enjoying it, taking it. I'm giving more and more money out of my pocket and enjoying it because they're happy about it and they're paying me back. So everything works. And I picked up a big struggle with the banking system. The more I tell the bank, why didn't you do this? They know this is not banking. This whole thing will collapse. I said, I will still continue until it collapses, but you can't tell me that it collapses. I will stop. I will not stop until it collapses. So I'll continue to see what it is done. This is what I've done and never collapsed. And it grew. And at one time, bank, we needed more money because my money was running out. So I thought of creating a bank, a small bank for the village. That was the idea. And finally, we created the bank. But we had no idea that it will become soon a nationwide bank. And soon it will be global idea spreading everywhere else. This is how step by step it began.
Oftentimes when an entrepreneur comes and disrupts the status quo, no matter how unjust that status quo may be, someone is profiting from it. In this case, loan sharks. And oftentimes those forces push back. Did you face much resistance early on from loan sharks, from banks, from others to what you were doing?
I would say all of the above. So everybody was against me because I was doing everything what they were doing. So again, they were saying we're wrong. First problem, biggest problem I faced was not the loan shark. It was the men, because I was focusing on women. Grameen Bank not only lends money to poor, it lends especially to poor women. 97% of our borrowers in Grameen Bank, even today, are women. And right from the beginning, I got into controversy with the conventional bank. I was accusing that they're wrong, that they're not lending money to the poor people. I said, banking is created to lend money to people, but you do it in a funny way. You lend money to people who already have lots of money, but you don't lend money to people who don't have money. I said, this is completely reverse. The ideal thing would be you'll be lending money to people who don't have money. Once you have done that, then gradually you go about, not before. No, but they laugh at me. Oh, you're crazy. You don't understand banking. I said, I don't understand your banking. I understand banking, but not your banking. Your banking is upside down. It's not there. And then I said, not only you don't lend money to poor people, you don't lend money to women of all kinds. Even the richest women, you don't lend money. You always say, bring your husband. And you start talking to the husband. And you want counter signature from the husband and everything. I said, see, that's why the women don't come to you. No, they don't come to us because they're not interested in this. I said, no, look at your rules. Your rules are all against women. So when I began, I wanted to make sure half the borrowers in my world are women. This is just an idea. Since I'm debating and discussing and shouting at the banks, I said, I must do it in my own world. Half the people should be women. When I started it, women themselves said, no, don't give the money to me, give it to my husband. I don't know anything about money. So I get into another trouble. Yeah. And then finally I overcome that. I said, this is I told the girls who are working for me with the women, because I cannot go to the women myself, being a Muslim country. So they are the one going. They say, well, they don't want to take money. I said, when they say they don't want to take money, always remember, this is not her words. This is the words coming from the history that she's made of. Because ever since she was born, she was told, you are nobody, you brought misery to the family, and etc., etc. So she's surrounded by fears and fears. All we have to do, go back again and again, peel off the fear, layer by layer. Someday, somewhere, someone may say, oh, maybe I should try. And that will be our beginning. And that process took us 6 years. But we never gave it up. After 6 years of work, finally we came to the 50-50 level. We celebrated it. Then we saw money going to the family, brought so much more benefit to the family than the same amount of money going to the family through men. So we said, why are we limiting ourselves to 50-50? Let's open it up. Let's focus on women. That's how we got to the 97. We stopped in 97 deliberately. We could have made it 100%. But we thought some men should still be there so that we knew there's a comparison always you can make. Otherwise, people say, maybe men would be better. I said, here it is. So this is how we did that. We became, our main problem was women because we were focusing so much women. So the men became our best opposition. The husband of the woman that were lending money, he became the opposition leader. He hated that. So this is our way with it. And then we drew the religion into it. Religious people got absolutely crazy against us. They thought we were destroying the religion by giving money to women. And I had to go around, bring examples from the religion history, how women were traders, how women were businesswomen, etc., etc., to tackle that. But religion became very strong. Then, of course, the political opposition, left politics thought we are bringing capitalism from the United States to root in the grassroots level in the villages and so on. So we had the left opposition, we had the right opposition, and so on. So all kinds, and the banks thought this is crazy. This is just destroying the whole idea of banking and so on. He is just trying to disrupt the whole system. So our economic friends, or economist friends, in the then, this is not economics. You're doing crazy things. You shouldn't even be a teacher of economics because you are destroying all the ideas of economics and so on. So opposition came from every single place. It's not one. But we stayed on because we thought this is where working. People are happy with that. I said, the whole world saying it's wrong. As long as I see it's right, I'll continue to do it. I continue to do it. This is how we got it.
Hmm. Thank you, Professor Yunus. You've inspired so many change makers around the world, but you've also educated so many, and I want to talk about that for a bit. I didn't know actually that at that early part of your career, you were a teacher, and that says a lot. I think looking at the trajectory of your life and career since then, where so much of it has been dedicated to education, and I think the movement for advancing social business and education at universities around the world through Yunus centers, through YSB, et cetera, has been so important. So let's talk about that a little bit. How you approach or why you're so focused on education for the next generation of change makers and social business leaders, and maybe talk about where this idea of systems fits in.
Well, first, one explanation is I'm coming from the education. So I'm a product of education. I never thought I would be anything else but teacher. But circumstances pushed me out of the campus. I was still all these things that Grameen Bank and everything I was doing out of the campus. In order to demonstrate it in a bigger way, I took leave from the university to go out other side of the country to show not only the influence of they were explaining that it's the influence of me as a professor. All these things happening, people respect me, that's why they're paying me back. I said, look, this is bullshit. This is not the way banking works, professors and so on. I said, you told me where to go, I'll do it anywhere you want me to. So they showed me where I should go. So I took leave from Grameen Bank for 3 years and went there to do that. So I remained a teacher in my mind always. And I was very unhappy with the thing that I was teaching. That's how I began the story. So I still remain very unhappy. Not only unhappy, I now call it, I say it in a more stronger word. I said, all the problems of the world are created in the classroom by the teachers. This is why I believe, and this is continue to say that all the problems are created by the teachers in the classroom, because that's why we're creating the mindset of the young people. Whatever they do after that, it's some teacher taught them and graded them for following what they said. It's saying that you're right. If you don't follow what he said or she said, you're wrong. So I always try to follow what they said, and all my textbooks says, all my teachers said, and you are brainwashing, you are putting things in your head which finally will create the world. And today, I said the report card of all this educational system is we created the wrong world. Today we have a world which is about to come to its end. And this is what we have created our system. And we teachers, we academic institutions are responsible for it. It is a world that we believed these are the things we have to do. And we did that, and we did it enthusiastically. We believed in so much. So we created a world which comes to very close to finish itself. I said, our education system has brought the whole human species today as an endangered, most endangered species. We don't have much time left. And that is what the outcome of teaching, what we do in our classroom. We never question that. We enthusiastically keep teaching so that we can make it faster. That's our deadline, our finish line come closer to us. Our last station comes close to us. We never stop, we never question. Not only that, we continue to defend that. And then we created a world where all the wealth gets concentrated in few hands. And this is also because of the way we teach, with the way we structured everything, we designed everything. That's how all the wealth gets concentrated. There's no other reason. Today, if you take the $5.50 people per day, they are half the population of the entire world. And because of the pandemic, they are further pushed down. They are no longer $5.50, maybe $4.50 or $4 or something, half the population. So the entire population of the world is pressed down and very close to the last line, zero income level, and always pushed down. And 99% of the people are very close to these lines, the entire population. As you go up the above, it's emptiness. Very few, rare few people. But all the wealth are with the rare few people. 99% of the wealth is way above that scale. 99% of the people is near the zero line. I said, what kind of economy that we created? The segregation between people and wealth continues to grow faster and bigger and bigger. This is the system. Well, during the pandemic, many people who came above the poverty line, they are pushed back into the poverty again. And this is the story that we keep seeing in the newspapers and everything. And they lost their income, they lost their livelihood, they lost their homes and everything else because of the pandemic. What happened to the people on the top, the 1% of people who were owning the 99% of the wealth? Their wealth increased by $14 trillion. $14 trillion in the same period. So again, wealth pushed up. So this is the system we built. I said, this is a ticking time bomb. You may not see it today, not like the global warming, everything happening, but someday, very soon it will explode because people are pressed here and the wealth is something else. I said, the real economy, if somebody designed an economy, it would be a system where bring the wealth and the people together. Create a condition where people and wealth live together forever and ever. This will not get away from each other. Getting away from each other is a very risky thing. So this is what we built, and all the things that followed and so on. I said, this is the creation. This is the germination is done at the classroom. Unless we change our system of what we design, the classroom, that we teach the economics, students and so on. We tell our students that get your exams done, get to the best school, get to the Oxford University, get the best degree, and get the best job. You see, your life is very simple. Get the best job. I said, job is completely contrary to what the human beings are all created for. Human beings are made as someone with unlimited creative capacity. That's what the human being are. That's how the beauty of the human being is. The poorest person and the richest person, doesn't matter. Each one has the potential of enormous amount of creativity. But you are pushing this human being through your schooling system, through your education, to get ready to take a job. So job, by definition, is the end of creativity. The moment you take a job, you surrender your creativity, because from now on, you'll be driven by instructions. You cannot follow it. You cannot do your own thing. Your thinking process is blocked away. If you want to use it, you'll be finished. You'll be thrown out of the system. So we became a robot-like people. We are not real human being. And that's our education system. I said, now we have to, if you have to build the real education system, is to be an education system which will encourage every single human being to become entrepreneur. And we'll be taking pride that our students of batch and such, everybody is entrepreneur, they're doing entrepreneurial activity, whatever entrepreneurship they are not working for anybody. No modern version of slavery. We're not encouraging them to adopt the modern version of slavery. They get a job, get a good salary, and get a good retirement benefit, and the life is over. And don't worry about everything else. You're okay with that. That's absolutely wrong message that we give in our education system. So first thing, if you want to change this you want to change the world, you have to change the education system. That's where it is created. That's the point I wanted to make.
Thank you, Professor. And maybe for a last word, you touched on where we are with this pandemic and how our experiences the last year have worsened so many inequalities and so many of the urgent problems that we face. The climate crisis isn't going away. You know that very well from Bangladesh, a place that's on the front lines from climate impact. so many challenges that we're facing, and you know, at the same time, for you know, for our students, for young change makers, for entrepreneurs, this has been a, you know, it's always a lonely process, and I think this is, you know, we're all dealing with the effects of isolation, worries about the future. So you have your virtual classroom here, full of students who want to do their bit to make the world a little bit better. What bit of parting advice do you have for everyone today?
Well, don't listen to your teachers to begin with.
Don't listen to your teachers.
Make your own thing. Make up your own thing. That's it. Be free. Don't surrender yourself. Stay with what your thought is and so on. And as a young person, I would say you are lucky that you are a young person in this pandemic period, and it makes you extra lucky because the whole system is falling apart right now. You saw all the ugly things happening around the pandemic. First, at the beginning of the pandemic, each country was trying to protect itself. They couldn't care less what others are doing. And that's a selfishness thing. We talk about multilateralism. We talk about global village. Everything is torn apart. There was no global village. There are a lot of global islands here and there, and everybody's trying to take care of their own island. They don't care less. And then you can do the vaccine, and vaccine exposed the ugliest thing ever. Everybody's trying to get to their own vaccine, couldn't care less what happens to others. They will pay highest price possible to the vaccine companies so that they can get their vaccines first. Today, poor countries not even get a fraction of 1% of the vaccines, even today. So this is what the vaccine thing is about. And the vaccine and the pandemic, as you can imagine, again, a scenario like people are drowning in an ocean of pandemic. People are drowning, sinking, they're losing their life. Some guy comes up with the boats saying that, okay, you can have a space in our boat, you can save your life, but I can give it to the highest bidder. So they're drumming around for the highest bidder. This is the system we built. And it goes on, and the people, rich countries support them because this is their country, this is their companies, so they support their companies. They couldn't care less whether people die. They want to make the super profit, and this is the time for profit. So it's a profit versus life in a very naked way. And we're supporting the profit part, not the life part. You can lose your life, but you have to make the maximum of the profit. That's the kind of system we built. And I'm not blaming those people, because that's the system we created in our classroom, and that's what we practice in outside, and so on and so forth. So we have to undo everything. That's my point. Unless you undo these things, we'll still continue to get into it. We are trying to say that why don't you, we have been appealing to people, just wrote a letter to President Biden, by many of us signing that letter, addressing him to make vaccine as a patent-free vaccine. So this should be a global common good. There should not be any commercial ownership of vaccine, so that we can use this vaccine. You can produce this vaccine anywhere in the world. There are so much production capacity in the world wasted away because patent people will not give the patent to them, so they could produce it. I said that today vaccines should be produced in a distributed way, not in a centralized way. Because centralized way is good for making big money because you can negotiate to the highest bidder. So the moment we centralize it, it goes everywhere. Everybody will have their own terms and conditions, and prices will come down and so on. Today, India can produce many more vaccines than anybody can do it. Bangladesh can produce vaccines. We have the capacity to do it. South America has to do that. Thailand has capacity to do it, but we cannot produce it. And there are many companies in Europe who can do it, but they cannot do it. They have the capacity, but not for this because the pandemic and so on. So this is the scenario. This is what you have to now have the opportunity. Pandemic has created for the young people to create a new world. It is the old world I'm describing, how to create the new world. This is our challenge. This is what we have to come and design that new world for us. And then new world, I talk about a new world of 3 zeros. 0 net carbon emission, 0 wealth concentration to end poverty, and 0 unemployment, so that everybody can become entrepreneur. So it will be the world of entrepreneurship. It will be a world of 0 net carbon emission. This is the world of wealth and people living together, not separated out by the way it has been done. So this is the direction we have to, and you have the capacity. You have enormous capacity to do it because you're born in this day and age. In this day and age, you have been given by the technology enormous power to change everything. And always remember, nothing is impossible for human being. And you can do it because you have the power. Use that power, make it happen. That's all I can tell you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't listen to your teachers unless the teacher happens to be Professor Muhammad Yunus. Professor Yunus, thank you so much for lending us your time and your wisdom today. We'll take these words to heart, and where others see crisis, the entrepreneurs see opportunity. And you've certainly inspired me today to do my bit. I hope we can talk further about vaccine equity. Actually, it's something that I've been working on very passionately as well. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Everyone give a virtual round of applause, please.
Yes.
Professor Yunus.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.